Hello everyone and welcome to the game I promised in the previous video. It's a game from yesterday's Division 3 of the Chessable Masters, Daniil Dubov versus Minh Le, a Vietnamese Grandmaster Minh Le. And okay, in classical chess, Dubov is some 200 rating points higher rated than Minh Le, but in rapid, as Minh Le is a speed chess specialist, he plays a lot of bullet, a lot of blitz. It's not that great of a gap. However, yeah, you've seen in the previous couple of videos how Wei Yi plays, and he's just an incredible attacker. He always creates something out of nothing. But there is another amongst the 2700 players, and that is Daniil Dubov. Sometimes, okay, maybe Richard Rapport and okay, Levon, but Levon is pretty much an all-around player. He can play anything. But if you really had to pick the top three attackers, they would be Wei Yi, Daniil Dubov, and Richard Rapport. So let's check out this game and why it's so incredible. And the pause the video moment, I'm sure you guys will really appreciate, as it's something really beautiful. Sorry if you hear some drilling, I have some stuff being done here. So let's check it out. Daniil with the white pieces opens with pawn to g3. He starts with sort of the king's fianchetto opening, d5, and now bishop to g2. We have knight to f6 and now knight to f3. So I'm going for, well, sort of an Indian setup. We have knight b to d7, and now castles. We have pawn to e5, grabbing the full center, and pawn to d3, stopping e4 for the moment, pawn to c6, and now the game has been reached before, and it's been played in a lot of Grandmaster games, but the move Daniil plays is a new one, and it is now, as of move 6, that we have a completely new game. So okay, he wants to stop further advancement of the pawn, plays pawn to a5, also stops pawn to b4, knight to c3, and now bishop to b4. Okay, just nicely developing. We have pawn to e4, d captures on e4, we have knight captures on e4, and now castles kingside. We have bishop to g5, pinning the knight on f6, and well, the problem with h6 here is that you can just capture and weaken the e5 pawn. For example, now knight will have to capture, you're going to capture on e5, and you're going to be up a pawn, and after knight captures, white can decide whether to capture with the d pawn or with the bishop on g2. So instead, bishop to e7 was played, and now knight captures on f6. We have bishop captures, queen captures, and just rook to e1. So okay, nothing spectacular happening here, putting more pressure on the e pawn, and Minh Le advances it to e4. He wants to give up this pawn that will probably remain a target for the rest of the game, to capture the pawn on b2. So knight to d2, Daniil invites the capture on d3, which Minh Le goes for, e captures on d3, and now knight to e4, attacking the queen, and just queen captures on b2. Okay, we have queen captures on d3, and now knight to e5. So here, okay, Daniil sacrificed the pawn, but he is up in development. However, after knight to e5 and the attack on Daniil's queen, okay, the bishop is coming into the game. Black will soon equalize in development, and he will be able to enjoy his extra pawn, or that is the plan. So queen to d6, putting pressure on the knight, but it's still fine. The queen is defending it. But what if the rook attacks the queen? Where is the queen going? You can't go to c3, you can't go to d4. That's going to be a free piece. So knight back to c4, quickly attacking Dubov's queen, queen to c5, and now queen to b4. Minh Le is up a pawn. He wants to trade queens and enjoy his extra material, but Daniil says, nope, not so fast. Queen to h5, and already you have to wonder, okay, if knight comes to g5, do I kick it away with h6 then? Should I play h6 and prevent knight to g5 altogether? And the engine says, yeah, you should play h6, and white has nothing. And that's exactly what Minh Le plays. And they still both have enough time. They started with 10 minutes on the clock. Dubov has 8 minutes here, and Minh Le has 6 minutes on the clock. Daniil plays pawn to c3. It's a very nice move because objectively might not be doing all that much, but it forces Minh Le to waste time. Does he go queen b3, queen b2, queen to b6, queen to e7? Probably not queen to e7, in front of the white rook, but you have to calculate other options. So queen to b6 was played, and here we reached a position where I really want you to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for Daniil while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on being a true master attacker. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to f1. This is the prized move. And to give you an idea of why bishop to f1 is so strong, well, Daniil, of course, wants to play knight to f6 with check. Just by knowing that it's Daniil wielding the white pieces, you know that knight to f6 has to be played. However, here it doesn't work just yet, because if g captures after rook to e4, there's no rook to g4. The bishop covers the g4 square. And now best you can do is play something like queen captures on h6, and after queen to c5, preparing to trade off queens, you can play bishop to e4, threaten checkmate, but there's bishop to f5. And that's sort of the problem. Queen captures on f6, you will play bishop to g6, and white will have nothing more than a perpetual here after queen h6, king g8, queen to g6, and so on and so on. However, after queen to b6 and bishop to f1, there is a huge problem here. How do you defend the knight? The knight cannot go to d6, the knight covers that. The knight cannot go to e5, the queen covers that. You cannot go to e3, the pawn covers that. There's a pawn here, there's a queen here, and all the other squares are covered. You can play knight to b2, rook a to b1, we'll take care of that. And if you try, well, what else is there to try? You could defend the knight with queen to b3, but then knight to c5 attacks the queen, takes away all of the squares for the queen, and next move you just lose a knight. So that's the problem. So the only way to defend the knight after bishop to f1 is to play bishop to e6. And what was the one thing preventing you from sacrificing the knight on f6? The bishop on c8 guarding the g4 square. And now Daniil just plays bishop captures on c4. And now the bishop has to move from the defense of the g4 square, otherwise you're just going to be down a piece. So bishop captures on c4, and now Dubov goes for knight to f6 with check, and now we have access to the g4 square. So here the best move is not to capture. Best move is actually to just move the king and allow knight to d7. You have to give up the exchange and suffer for the rest of the game. But you know, suffering against Dubov isn't really what Minh signed up for, so he says it either works or it doesn't. G captures on f6 was played, and now rook to e4. Going for rook to g4 check. So how can you stop this? Well, there are a couple of moves you could try. There's a very tricky move. It's a disgusting engine line, but even with that, it doesn't work. For example, pawn to f5. You take away the g4 square, give up the f5 pawn, and now play c5 to allow the queen control of the 6th rank. And after rook to g4 check, king to h8, you can play queen to e5 with. You could also take the bishop. That also works, and you're gonna have queen and 2 rooks versus queen and 2 rooks, but the black king side is completely busted. You will win this, but there's an even cleaner way of queen to e5 check. Only move f6, and now, well, only reasonable move f6, and now after queen to h5, threatening mate in 1, you will have to play f5 to defend the h6 pawn, and now rook to g6 attacks the queen and the h6 pawn. You will have to give up the queen here, and after captures, the only way to sort of survive this is to play rook to e6, but still it's gonna be a bishop and rook versus a queen, not enough material to fight Dubov with. So instead, after rook to e4, bishop to d3 was played, trying to get the bishop to g6 to help out with the defense, but now rook to g4 with check, bishop to g6, and now queen captures on h6. And it seems like, okay, there's maybe a way for black to defend this, and black finds the only reasonable move, and that is queen to b2, attacking the white rook on a1. But now, for the final time, feel free to pause the video and try to find the cleanest way to win the game while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to h4. So Dubov sacrifices more material, and now there is no way to stop queen to h8 checkmate. Queen captures on a1 check was played, but after king to g2, bishop to e4 check was played. Rook captures on e4, and now queen to d1, trying to defend the position, but still rook to h4, threatening checkmate. Queen to d5 with check, we have pawn to f3, and he was in this position on move 31 that Minh resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Sorry, I forgot to update my interface here to fix Minh's name. There we go. Because, well, now once you give a couple of checks, the queen to d2 check is impossible. The queen on h6 is stopping that, but after queen to a2 check, king h3, queen to e6 with check. You're gonna play g4, and now there are no more moves. So queen to h6 will just end the game, or queen to h7. And I mean, what a fine find after this queen to b6 move. Like, you want to play knight to f6. You really want to play. Dubov had 7 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock when he decided to play this move. And he spent a minute and 15 seconds deciding on bishop to f1. So yeah, I mean, beautiful stuff. You just, you realize that the bishop guarding the g4 square is preventing you from this spectacular attack, and then you just find the move, bishop to f1. I mean, so elegant. The knight has no squares. You will take the knight. The bishop has to defend. The bishop moves from the defense of g4, and then the attack just happens. And while Minh could have persevered a bit longer by not taking the knight, playing that king to h8 line, I mean, that's, I guess, against a player of Dubov's strength, it's the same as a loss. So that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Always a pleasure to bring you more Dubov games. Whenever he plays, everyone is, will he deliver? And yes, he always delivers. So yeah, once again, really hope you guys enjoyed it today. No rapid action from me, but you have a nice rapid game from Dubov, so hope you enjoyed that. I would like to thank Samuel Kane, Gerhard Henkelmann, Jeremy Antifos, Carl Weinberg, and David Gasparian for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.